Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for yet more dedicated legacy action. Today we are playing Colourless Cloudpost. A little while back I played the sort of green standard-ish type Cloudpost deck that has Primeval Titans and things then ramps into your top end. This version is totally colourless, so we don't have to try and weave in playing green lands along the way to playing our big fatties. We can just play our Cloudposts out and they're not going to affect how we play other spells, like getting our Reclaimers down and things like that. So that's one of the attractions to this. Also, because we are a dedicated colourless deck, we've got these Thought-Knot Seers and Reality Smashers. I did play an Eldrazi deck the other day, like the Eldrazi Stompy deck, which basically isn't good because it runs these good cards and then a load of bad cards. Now this deck is just running good cards for the most part, and it's got a very different game plan. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this maps out. Our top end, obviously we have Emrakul. It's the most top end of top ends. A couple of Ulamogs. Now hopefully we can tutor with our Eye of Ugin at some point. And we've got an Ugin the Spirit Dragon and Ugin the Ineffable. So we've got some pretty big hits there. We also have All Is Dust as a nice sweeper that we can hopefully get some joy with. It's going to be one-sided most of the time as well, which is rather nice. Mainly what this deck's trying to do in the early turns of the game is prison pieces. So we've got Trinisphere, Chalice, your standard prison pieces, and Grim Monolith to accelerate these out, as well as accelerating out some of our other drops if necessary. And because we are a Cloudpost deck, we might actually be using the pay 4 mana untap Grim Monolith ability more often than you would think. As for the mana base, well, it's pretty self-explanatory. All these 4 lands here make 2 mana to try and accelerate these out. Then we've got Eldrazi Temples, which make 2 mana for these guys. Then we've got our Cloudpost package. We've got Cloudposts, Glimmer Posts, and Vesuvas. We've got a few little bullets that we can find with Golos. So that's Paducah Bog, Cascading Cataracts, which gives us the 5 colours of mana to activate Golos' ability to then start casting some of these big things at an undercosted rate. A Cavern of Souls in case we need to cast an uncounterable Eldrazi. And Eye of Ugin, which can then tutor up any of our big fatties, and a Caracas, Thespian Stage, Urborg. So, you know, relatively straightforward. We want to sort of smash. We also have this Karn package though, and sometimes we're going to have games that it's just about the Karn. So, a pretty standard Karn package: Tormod's Crypt, Crucible of Worlds, Sorcerer's Spyglass, Liquid Melt Coating, and Stone Bridges. So we're going to be boarding in 2 of these and keeping 1 in the board. Depending on the matchup, we might need to board all 3 in. Mycosynth Lattice, Walking Ballista. So pretty standard Karn package there. And because we're a colourless deck, we can afford to have the extended Karn package, if you will. And also we have more Sorcerer's Spyglasses when we need to board those in. These are often going to be naming Wasteland, I imagine, in this deck. Then we have 4 Laying on the Voids in the sideboard because graveyard decks, they're a thing. And that's it, really. This is the deck we're playing. We're going to go big or we're going to go home. But before we do that and jump into a league, if I could just say, if you wouldn't mind, if you could just scroll down and hit that subscribe button, it really helps me out. It doesn't cost you anything and it's the best way to support my channel. If you know anyone else who's interested in legacy content, send my stuff their way. All right, with that out of the way, let's jump into a league and see if we will go big or go home. Right, so this is our opening hand for game 1 and we are on the draw. We have turn 2 Thought-Knot Seer, which is pretty good. But it's going to take a little while before we can cast the Karn. Depends on how good a turn 2 Thought-Knot Seer is going to be. I think it's going to be okay, and we can try and play out Karns. I think we give this a go. It's a bit shy of prison pieces, for sure. Right, let's keep this. And this is the new update for Modo for the Brothers War, so I need to adjust all my stops as we go. Dragon's Rage Channeler. So we're looking at a Delver deck. So they're probably going to give us a bit of a miserable time with the old Wastelands here. Which of these lands do I care most about getting Wastelanded? I think I'd rather have the Eye of Ugin Wastelanded than the Ancient Tomb, so I'm going to play the Eye out. A Tundra. Okay, so it's a slightly different Delver build. It's going to have white things, so it could have Stoneforge Mystic type stuff going on. But this Ponder gets to see them potentially 6 cards if they want. Because this is the thing that we're allowed to do in Legacy. Opponent's a bit low on cards though. So we might be able to squeeze something through. Our threats are also pretty good against lightning bolts, but Swords to Plowshares, which is probably in their deck, is going to clean up a Thought-Knot Seer quite well. Okay, so we take the one from the Dragon's Rage Channeler. Then it's our turn. We did not get wastelanded, so we get to play out our Ancient Tomb. And then we play our Thought-Knot Seer, probably into a Daze. Let's see. Oh, it resolved. That's interesting. A Teferi and a Swords to Plowshares. Interesting. So they can Teferi, bounce my guy, and draw 2 cards. That sounds bad for us. I think we just take the Teferi here. Interesting. Wasn't expecting to see Teferi out of this. So this is going to get swords, but that's going to put us to a pretty respectable life total. But it's going to put a 3rd type in their graveyard. A Predict. Okay, so this is just going to draw them cards because they have a channeler to know what's on top of their library, so they can accurately predict. Mystic Sanctuary. Sure, there's a Mystery Rainforest we knew about. This is probably going to get a Tundra and Swords to Plowshares that guy to let them get 2 damage in here. Sure, they do draw a card off the Thought-Knot Seer, which is the unfortunate text of it. When it leaves the battlefield, they draw a card. It's not just an exile effect from their hand. So this turn, we can Thought-Knot Seer again, which is probably better than the Reality Smasher here, so they've just gassed up. We'll take the Swords to Plowshares, which leaves them with Plains and Pyroblast. And next turn we can play a Reality Smasher, and we are quite far ahead in the damage race at least. Could do with some more lands, so we get to... Yeah. So this is just to scry, because this doesn't get to do anything, but it can target anything. We do need some more land to get to like the top end we've got in our hand, because a lot of this doesn't do anything right now. Because our opponent's 3 colours, they're less likely to have Wasteland. But I suspect they do still have some number of Wastelands. Murktide Regent, sure. A 7/7, which is bigger than the things we're doing, which is a problem. It's also kind of annoying how Ugin the Spirit Dragon has to try and kill this when the time comes. Okay, so we have a Cloudpost. And this can copy Cloudpost to give us 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. So I think we probably need to 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. So we need to top deck a source for that. I think we are best off just copying the Thespian stage here and holding back. Gives us the most amount of outs. 2, 4, 6. It's not great for us right now. We basically have to trade our entire Ugin to kill this Murktide. Our 8-drop to exchange for a 7-drop. Also, we might be able to get an Ensnaring Bridge soon. That requires 7 mana. So basically we need a land off the top of our deck. So we copy the Cloudpost. Alright. Glimmer Post would be nice. A Cavern of Souls. So 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. Or 2, 4, 6, 7. So we can Karn and get an Ensnaring Bridge here, which I think is what we're priced into doing right now. It's 2, 4. Our opponent doesn't have any cards in hand. So then we will minus this. Get ourselves an Ensnaring Bridge. Pick out the Cavern. Eldrazi. 1, 2, 3. That's this. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the Murktide can't attack, but the Dragon's Rage Channelers can. So we're going to hold this guy back on blocks. If the Dragon's Rage Channelers become delirious, they will also be able to attack still. And then we'll be in trouble. They have 1 card, and they've only got 2 types in there at the moment. What other options do we have here? A Lightning Bolt. It's just going to Karn. Okay, no point looking at our sideboard then. We do have another Karn. So this is instant, instant, instant. Okay, so we're doing all right here. A Glimmer Post, please. That'd be one of the better draws. An Emrakul. That's not a Glimmer Post, is it? Let's view our sideboard again. So we can just go get the Tormod's Crypt to make sure that we don't get hit by Dragon's Rage Channelers. And then we can follow up with Mycosynth Lattice a turn after if needs be. That's probably fine. So, play this guy out. Get this Tormod's Crypt. And play this out. And then I think we just say go. Kind of settling in for a bit of a longer one here, and they might just be able to run a lightning bolt us. But we can at least get around Mystic Sanctuary with the Tormod's Crypt a bit. Of a Duke Bog. So we're definitely playing this. So it's going to make this really big, which will be a problem if they can bounce the Ensnaring Bridge. So maybe we should go and get a second Ensnaring Bridge just to be on the safe side. We can get a Mycosynth Lattice and go to 4 here. Our opponent has 1 card in hand, but they have Force of Will mana up. It's tricky. Let's have a little fish with the Khan. I don't think I want to cast a Mycosynth Lattice into our opponent's Force of Will mana. I think we'll be better off getting another Ensnaring Bridge to make sure that we don't die to the Brazen Borrower or a Prismatic Ending. Alright. So I think we are okay there. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So we can't cast this Reality Smasher. Not that we're going to be winning the game that way. We're probably going to can't lock our opponent out. A Brainstorm, sure. Days. Volcanic Island. Okay, so they're not going to have Delirium right now. Unless they have another spell here. Ugin the Ineffable. That's a pretty good one. It makes our things cheaper for next turn as well. Let's see if they do have that Force of Will. I imagine this will get it. They're cracking their fetch. I'm trying to cast as many things as we can without tapping our Ancient Tomb, so we can't just get Lightning Bolted out of the game. Yep, so there's the Force of Will we're expecting. And we'll +1. No targets. So our plan now is, because we've got through the Force of Will, we're just going to build this up until we get the Mycosynth Lattice lock, and then we can do what we want. So we can use this to search for a Golos as well, if we have a turn where we're not casting a spell. Which could be this next turn depending on what we draw. A Trinisphere. It's not really where we're at right now, is it? So I think we plus this. No targets. 2, 4, 5, 6. We kind of need another mana really to activate this without taking damage from the Ancient Tomb. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we can cast the Ugin this turn. It puts us dead to double Lightning Bolt. I think we just play out our Trinisphere here. This stops our opponent from being able to... okay, we just got another Force of Will. Okay, sure. If they want to waste a Force of Will on this, that's fine by me. But it also would stop them from being able to cantrip into useful spells. I just need another mana, really. Just don't want to die to my own Tormod's Crypt. To my own Ancient Tomb into Lightning Bolts. Right, we can crack 1, but then they can attack with 2 and Lightning Bolt us. So that's why we're keeping our life total as high as possible at this point. A Glimmer Post would be a great draw here. A Predict. Sure. So if these have to attack at some point, I can let them attack, then I can shrink them and turn flying off and then kill one. That does expose our Thorn to Lightning Bolt, but Lightning Bolt's probably scarier on our face than on our creature. Because I can just deploy another creature. Okay, so they have to attack this turn. We lose to Stifle here, I guess. I'm not sure my opponent's playing Stifle. Let's hope they're not playing Stifle. Okay, their Murktide Regent is enormous. I'm going to try and gas them back up now, which is quite a difficult ask right now. Okay, sorcery instant. Enchantment. Okay. And he takes a land here. This does mean that they can't put another instant in unless they have an instant. Then they can try and... Yep. We're going to lose to this? Yep, we're just going to lose to this. That's pretty upsetting there. Just have to concede the game. Yeah, our opponent was hellbent for a while, and they just drew better than we did. Sad times. Alright, so our opponent... I'm inclined to bring in these Leyliners of the Void, to be honest. Seem pretty good. Oh, there's so many layers here. It's really annoying. Right, so these are good. The Spyglass for Wasteland is going to be good here. Although we didn't see any Wastelands, but can we afford to pretend they don't have them in a Delver style deck? Interesting. We definitely want the ley lines though. The Ores Dust is quite expensive. I don't think we're going to be reality smashing our opponent. I think we're probably going to be ensnaring bridging our opponent. So these two ensnaring bridges here. The Khan itself is actually not great here because there's a 4-mana spell that's a bit harder to resolve. Do we cut one of our top end bits maybe and keep a Khan in? That looks okay to me. Like, I think we were totally fine that game. We just bricked on lands for so many turns. Like, at any point we draw a Glimmer Post and then we just win that game. Right, let's submit like this. Yeah, I think we can keep this one. It's a little bit slow, but we have Chalice and Leyline, which is going to shut down a lot of what their deck does. I think we play this one out. This is the one we care about getting wastelanded least. The Glimmer Post is going to give us a lot more mana as time goes on. Then we can just store our mana in some Glimmer Monoliths for a couple of turns. That's quite nice. Let's get this up. This might not resolve, but it might be a 2-for-1 though. If they, or are they going to daze it? They could daze it. Having daze on the draw against a big mana deck feels a bit weird to me though. So I would imagine they've boarded out their dazes here. And this is just going to have to be a Force of Negation or a Force of Will. Again, I could be wrong on that one. Okay, we've got it. So we've shut down all their cantrips apart from Expressive Iteration. We've shut down all their threats apart from Murktide Regent. They do have Teferi in their deck though. So we're relatively exposed to things like Price of Progress here. Let's play our Grim Monolith. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana. So if we play a Grim Monolith next turn, the turn after we can play Ulamog. And then that should be enough to win the game. But again, we have to untap with all of these twice. Now they can have Teferis to bounce things, but if they're bouncing, they're probably bouncing the Chalice here. And we can play Grim Monolith and a Chalice next turn. Monastery Mentor. Okay, our opponent is doing different things to what I thought they were doing. A Vesuva. Let's have a Cloudpost. And we will cast this. Tapping this. So we can cast Ulamog quite easy next turn. We can have had 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we're just short of having the Ulamog this turn. So we just need to survive another step. And they're probably not running Stifle, so this trigger will hit. And we can get rid of their Volcanic Islands as well. Okay, maybe not. That's a Teferi. Sure. So they have choices of what to bounce here. I suspect it'll be the Chalice because that will let them do more things with their Mentor. Yep, so there goes the Chalice. We would like to draw a Cavern of Souls. Would be quite a nice draw this turn. Because then we can play an uncounterable Ulamog. Like, we still get the trigger, but I think having an uncounterable would be best. Alright, so we made it to a turn where we get to Ulamog. A Caracas is interesting. I definitely think we're playing out the Caracas here. Do we try and bait spell them with the Chalice? I think we probably do. So this taps for 3. So we'd have 1. So we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah. So we can afford to play out this chalice on 1. And this shuts down a lot of their decks. They might be inclined to force a will if they have one available. There it is. And they exiled to Teferi for that. Sure. And then we have 3 mana for 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's cast a big boy. We would like to blow up this Monastery Mentor. Do we need to blow up a Teferi here, or do we need to blow up just a monk token just to keep their board under wraps? Yeah, I think we just take out their threats in case this gets answered. Okay. So now what we can do is cast this every turn until our opponent dies, because we can bounce with Caracas. So our opponent is in a lot of trouble. There's also exiles big chunks of their library. Jace the Mind Sculptor. Sure. This is more things that I get to blow up with my Ulamog. Yep, so they're going for the brainstorm mode on Jace, makes sense. The deck is a lot bigger than I thought it was. I definitely don't think they have wastelands now, so I'm glad I didn't bring in... Obviously the Source of Spyglass would be good. Okay, so we will return this to my hand. So they are just pumping their monks here to get more damage in. But I get to cast Ulamog and blow up more of their things. Round and round it goes. And play this one out. That's for 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's cast this. We'd like to get rid of your Jace and probably just another monk right now. Not sure how they plan on beating this Ulamog. Like, they could have a counter spell at some point, but you think, but they brainstormed. Okay, so they're gonna get rid of the cards. They definitely don't have a counter spell in hand now, otherwise they would have kept it off the Jace. This Caracas pickup was very good. Expressive Iteration. Sure, you can make your monk a 2/2. So this hits with 2 attacks with the trigger. It will kill them now because they have less than 40 cards in their library and it exiles the top 20 when it hits. And we can attack the Teferi with it as well, because they'll still be the defending player, because it's the defending player's Planeswalker. So I should still mill them for 20. Should be nice. This game feels pretty over. There we go. The question here is, do I want some Spyglasses to deal with their Planeswalkers? Certainly an option. So we can board in 2 and have the Khans to pick up the rest. A lot of my stuff lines up quite nicely here, so it's hard to know where the cut should be. I could be cutting more Khans. Definitely see cutting 1 Khan for a Spyglass. But outside of that, I don't really know what this one's supposed to be. Don't think I can cut any of my win conditions. I can't cut this. I think it's just a case of I can't really afford to board out anything else here. The Trinisphere may be less good, but they are trying to chain cantrips, and if we can just get like a turn 1 Trinisphere, that'll probably just put them in the ground. I think we should just submit like this. Maybe I should cut one of the Trinispheres for that, because their deck is going bigger than I thought. But we've submitted now, so we're going big or we're going home. This hand is Chalice on turn 2 on the draw, followed by nothing else. I think we should mulligan. This hand will need a threat at some point, but we have Chalice for 1 on turn 1. We also have Spyglass and we have the Leyline, so I think we can keep this. And we're probably bottoming the Eye here, because it's the thing that doesn't cast all of our spells. So this should neuter their best threats. They still have the Monastery Mentor, of course. A Tundra into Ponder. Hopefully that'll be the last Ponder you get to cast this game. So it's our turn. That's a pretty nice pickup. This should be a 2-for-1 or a Chalice that blocks out a big chunk of their deck. Either outcome is probably fine. Alright. So there goes the Chalice. Now Eldrazi Temple. Don't mind if I do. Let's see if this can do the job. Looks like they're paying for something. A predict. Interesting. Let's see what you're working with here. One card that does stuff. Alright. We are in a pretty good position right now. Opponent just has lands. And these spells they can't cast. Okay, there's a Flooded Strand. And we attack here. Now the question is, what is going to be best to hit with this? Is it going to be the Jace, or is it going to be the Teferi? Okay, I have a Murktide Regent in hand. That's not going to do anything. I think because they've got so much junk in their hand, I want to hit Jace the Mind Sculptor. This is because I don't want them to be able to brainstorm away the junk in their hand. So let's name Jace the Mind Sculptor. It's done the thing that's done them both here, isn't it? So we've got 6 cards now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. Okay, cool. The Murktide Regent they can't cast because they can cast as a 7-mana 3/3 flyer eventually, but they might be able to disrupt our leyline. But we're just accruing so many permanents they need to do something about. Pluto Delta. Another Glimmer Post. Sure, let's pad my life total some more. Also means that when we do get Cloudpost, we're going to have a lot of fuel for it. Now, we don't actually have any more action in hand, but neither does our opponent. We have a 4/4 on board, so, and we've shot off big chunks of the deck, so we're in a pretty favourable position. Tundra. Okay, it's our turn now. Let's have another Glimmer Post. We go to attacks. I like how the Glimmer Posts offset the Ancient Tomb quite nicely as well. Okay, our opponent's got 2 turns to find action. So if they can get rid of our Chalice, they can deploy a Channeler and plow our guy. A Leyline. I don't think we're casting this one, are we? We're going to sandbag the Bajuka Bog in hand in case they manage to get rid of our Leyline and we need to exile their graveyard. Because we have plenty of mana here. 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we're actually 1 short of casting a Nulamog if we draw it. So maybe we could have played that. Maybe just playing slightly conservatively. A Dress Down. Okay, so this is just to draw another card. Yep, and they're casting it in my main phase so that if they untap and can blow this up, they can at least source Plowshares our guy and get a card out of it. Cool. So we did the prison thing and it worked. Excellent. Yeah, we went big. All right, let's go through round 2. Well, this hand is a pretty easy mulligan because I can't really do anything with it. This hand has quite a bit of air in it, so I think we can do better. Yeah, we can cast a turn 2 Trinisphere. So we're putting this one back. And we're either putting back the Golos or the Thought-Knot Seer. The Thought-Knot Seer does get us... Hold on, so this would be 1, 2, 3, 4. So we can't cast the Golos yet, so I think we should probably just keep a handful of things that we can actually do stuff with. That seems a fair assumption. Right. Our opponent has played a Street Race, so they're either playing Doomsday or Death Shadow. Flooded Strand could be in either of those decks. Watery Grave. Okay, they're playing Death Shadow. So if we can get Trinisphere down, we're not going to get Trinisphere down. Alrighty then. We should be taking the Trinisphere every time here, because it's the first thing I cast from my hand. I took the Thought-Knot Seer. That's fascinating to me. Okay. Now, we're at the mercy of their wastelands here. Maybe they want us to Trinisphere ourselves out, but it seems unlikely. A Delver of Secrets. Okay, this is like an old school Death Shadow build, but they had Delvers in as well. A lot of the builds these days don't have a Delvers, and I don't like them because they're not really a tempo deck at that point. Okay, we just replay the same turn and hope it's good for the Trinisphere next turn. Right, so we know Chalice is going to be backbreaking against our opponent, which is good information for the next game. A Brainstorm. They're probably looking for a way of flipping their Delver and a Wasteland to hit our Cloudpost. If they can do both of those this turn, then we're in real trouble. I think that'd probably just be the game at that point. Okay, not a Wasteland. That's good news for us. Oh wow, they're not using it to set up the Delver. They just had some real bad cards they just wanted to crack. Interesting. Maybe they're casting a Death Shadow this turn just to get the damage race in. A Gomag Angler. Sure. Same but different. So we take 1 And then we gain 2 on our next turn. So we're going to need something here. And all is dust. That's something nice to work towards. Alright, so our opponents can't do lots of cantrips and stuff. They're blind flipping on the Delver. Let's see if they get it. Yes, a daze. Okay. So we are taking quite a lot of damage this turn. It's a 3-turn clock. But if we can play our Reality Smasher out, I think we'll be okay. Everything we play now can't be countered. So 2 mana. Yikes. We are 1 mana shy. Any land next turn gives us a Smasher, which can eat up the Angler. But we're still going to be behind to this Delver, which is going to kill us in short order. Chalice of the Void. Nope, we just haven't hit any lands here. We're just dead. Sure. Okay. Not great. Let's move these here. So, Ensnaring Bridge is going to be good in this matchup. The Leyline in the Void, I don't think is where we want to be here. It only really impacts like their top end threats, and I think we just outpace them anyway. I think we're better off just trying to stick our prison pieces. So if we're boarding in these 2 bridges, we probably just board out 2 Khans. It's a bit of a do nothing on a board a lot of the time, especially since they've got Delvers, which are aggressive. Do we want the Walking Ballista? I don't think we do. We can always play Walking Ballista on the play on 1 off of an Ancient Tomb, but that requires quite a specific set of things to happen. I think we are alright like this. Just need to go big. This hand is a little slow. Kind of need more mana. We're very vulnerable to Wasteland here, but I think all of our hands are going to be vulnerable to Wasteland because that's the nature of this deck. We do have the Ensnaring Bridge, which will keep us alive. I think we'll keep this and go Cloudpost into Grim Monolith off the Eldrazi Temple. Now, if we get Wastelanded, that's going to be real bad for us. If we get Thoughtseized, probably not going to be great for us either. But our opponent's deck is very disruption heavy. Street Wraith. Fly the Strand, they've got the same opening hand as last time. Okay. Another land is nice to see. We'll cast this Grim Monolith. I don't know if this is good enough to get a counter spell from our opponent. It does basically invalidate dazes for the rest of the games. If they have one and no brainstorms, they might want to snap off here. I don't want to tap this for the Ensnaring Bridge yet. I'd rather save the mana for this. And we can have a much better turn. So we can cast a Reality Smasher next turn without tapping our Grim Monolith. A Delver of Secrets. Not a very imposing threat, to be honest. But they might be able to Wasteland us here and then daze us. That will force us to use our Grim Monolith. Wasteland. So the Cloudpost is a more tempting target, but for us right now, the Eldrazi Temple is actually better. So that's gone alright for us. Weirdly. So I think we just cast the Thought-Knot Seer this turn. Now they can force us to tap our Grim Monolith if they have dazes, which would be kind of annoying. No, they're just going straight up Force of Will. Exiling Force of Will. Sure. So we have all this dust available when we need it. The Delver did not flip, which could mean Wasteland, or it could mean another threat, or just any land. Another Delver. Sure. So they're going to come in for a little bit of damage here. A Wasteland. A Golos. Is the Golos good enough? Is the Golos good enough to make me tap my Grim Monolith? My friend's got 3 cards in hand. It takes us a long way away from... We can still Ensnaring Bridge if we need to. Yeah, I think the Golos is good enough here. We can play this around a daze. But not a Forcible. Okay, so... Our opponent only has 1 card in hand, so we should be able... We'll have some information what the other card in their hand is if the Delver flips. The Delver did not flip. I hope this is another Wasteland. That'd be... The 3rd Wasteland would probably be enough. It was not a Wasteland. Okay. We need to draw a land. An Urborg. Interesting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we can just play a Reality Smasher now. And smash some realities. 2, 3, 4, 5. So if these Delvers flip, then we're going to have to do something about that. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we still need more mana if we want to... What is dust? Okay, so this time they have flipped, revealing a ponder, which is a pretty good one. So we might... So we take 6 this turn, that puts us down to 7. So we are winning the race at this moment in time. And this is an Eldrazi spell, so Eldrazi Temple will make it cheaper. So this will tap for 2. 2, 4, 5. Obviously, if we tap our Ancient Tomb again, it's going to change the mass of the clock. So we don't want to do that unless we absolutely have to. We can tap the Ancient Tomb for black, though, so we can still cast our Ensnaring Bridge, if that's the thing that we feel we need to do. Okay, our opponent shuffled off their ponder, which is good for us. A Misty Rainforest, that. They're cracking it. Another ponder. They chose not to shuffle their library. That's pretty bad for us. An island. Okay, it wasn't a wasteland. And they didn't play another threat. So they have to be careful what they do here. An Emrakul. That's not really going to do it, is it? So we attack this turn. Put our opponent to 2. So they leave 1 back on blocks. We trample over and kill them. So they have to leave both back on blocks. Or play another threat. If they play another threat, that's a bit of a pickle for us. Probably going to have to play an Ensnaring Bridge game at that point. We can pay to untap our Grim Monolith if they don't attack us with both creatures. But this has also text where if it becomes a target of a spell they control, they have to discard a card or it gets countered. Both coming in. Alright. I cannot untap my Grim Monolith. A Death Shadow. Okay, that's a big one. Opponent has 1 card in hand. We need a land to play around days. We have 1 play available to us here. It's Ensnaring Bridge. We lose to Days. Days shouldn't be in the deck. Alright. We lose to the Delvers if we don't play this on 0. You thought I forgot by passing to my second main. Okay, so we need to be able to play every card that comes off top of our library or we die. Not a great position to be in. Especially when we have all these massively expensive cards in our deck. Okay, this is one we can cast. This is 2, black, black. Almost wish I could target myself with this, to be honest. See what you're working with, opponent. I thought it is. Well, you weren't going to cast that way. Okay. Got a lot of lands in our deck. We'd like to hit several of them in a row. Glimmer Post as well would be... Just 4 Glimmer Posts on top of my deck. That'd be fine. A Reality Smasher. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We can cast this, but we'll die. Yeah. Our 27 land deck has not really delivered the lands we were hoping for. We did get wastelanded twice. Let's see if they... Okay, this wasteland would have been bad. Not for the fact that we're already dead. But let's see if our opponent sees that they can just attack through our Ensnaring Bridge. Yep, there we go. Okay, so that one we did not go big. We went home because we had these big stuff in our hand. So maybe we should have been trimming on some of the really high top end. Maybe that's where I made the mistake. I should have just got rid of the top end because our stuff is probably big enough anyway. Especially the Ulamog's. Probably get rid of the Emrakul. Lower the curve a little bit. That was probably a mistake on my part, sideboarding. Like, we did get a bit unfortunate to not hit lands or castable spells there. Like Grim Monoliths or anything. Like, if we have 1 more land, then we get to untap our Grim Monolith and we can cast all his dust. So, yeah, it's a bit unfortunate. I think if you knew what you were drawing the whole time, I could have played it in a way that would have won us the game, but I was expecting to draw a land at some point. Anyway, can't win them all. Let's go on to the next round. We are on the draw, so we don't get the turn 1 Chalice on the play. But I think we have to keep this. Chalice into Karn is a pretty good curve. If we draw a Thornot Seer, we can cast that on turn 2. Once Upon a Time. This could be a deck that's pretty good to put Chalice against, because it could be Elves, which is great against to have a Chalice with, unless they have Allosaurus Shepherd. Let's see what our opponent has. Oh, okay. They got new stuff. So the reason we're not playing any new stuff is because the service I rent my cards off doesn't have the new stuff online yet. Okay. So our opponent is playing a load of cards I don't know. Cool. I think we're still right to play the Chalice here. Even though they have an on-board answer to it, they're going to need green mana for it. What does this do? Double strike. When it enters the battlefield from your graveyard, you may discard. So I assume this is something they're going to be trying to use Goblin Welder on. This could be Red-Green Painter. Goblin Engineer. It certainly looks like Red-Green Painter to me. Unless they're just like weldering stuff. Yeah, okay, so it's Painter. Alright. So Khan is going to be great in this matchup. But we're a little ways away from Khan. I think we play the Glimmer Post and keep the Eldrazi Temple quiet for now. So our opponent can Goblin Engineer back the Painter's Servant, and they can go and get a Grindstone off of the Saga. So they just need a little bit. So if they've got a Ancient Tomb in their hand. Oh, okay. What? They had the win on, right? 1, 2, 3 mana. This to welder the Painter's Servant back in. This gets a Grindstone. Yeah, they just missed lethal. Alright. Cool. I'll take that. Now, they might suspect I have an Emrakul in my deck. So it's not lethal. Alright. 1, 2, 3, 4 mana here. So we can Karn and plus it on their Mox Opal. That seems good to me. This is a bit of a problem because it's got double strike. But we have 2 Karns, and this could save us some damage by forcing the double striker to attack the Karn. This matchup is going to be a strange one because our opponent can make our things coloured, so our colourless stuff like this doesn't work. But we have an Emrakul in our deck, so they can't mill us, which is why they didn't go for the lethal last turn, because they must have put 2 and 2 together, the fact that I had a Glimmer Post and an Ancient Tomb, that I was playing some sort of Cloud Posty type deck that was likely to have an Emrakul. If they wasted their resources on that, it wasn't going to get them anywhere. Interesting they welded out their double striker if they've come to the conclusion that I have an Emrakul in my deck, so I can't be milled out. Okay, so they're just putting back the dragon here. So when this comes into play from the graveyard, you may discard your hand and draw 3 cards. So just using this as an engine. So that's why they did it there. They just, because they didn't like what was in their hand, which makes sense because these cards aren't very good in this matchup right now. The Soulguide Lantern meant they could win the game, but interesting. So this is going to be an interesting turn. So we can play out the Golos and get Tormod's Crypt. It's just an artifact, isn't it? Yeah, okay. It doesn't care, that's colourless. Okay, so there's 2, 3, 4, 5 for Golos. So we could be a bit mean here and get a Bajuka Bog. Or we could just go get a Cloud Post and give ourselves some more mana, which I think is the correct play here. We can use this to... We can plus this to get rid of a Great Furnace. Or we can go and get something like a Tormod's Crypt to stop them constantly welding. But because the welding is a 2-turn loop, because they don't have a second engine yet, I think we're just going to reduce the amount of things they have to welder with. And this can block and protect Karn. And then Karn is almost like a Mycosynth Lattice on its own because of how many artifacts are in our opponent's deck. But we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana next turn. So where's this coming? This is coming at Karn. This is just a 2-2 double striker. Interesting. Is our opponent got Fury perhaps? Or they want this to die so they can weld it back in and draw more cards. I think we just let this hit the Karn. We don't want to give them a free Ancestral Recall this turn by weldering it. Because clearly they're digging for lands. And we have a spare Karn if required. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is only for colourless, isn't it? Yeah. What do you got for us, deck? Eldrazi Temple. So what we can do is we can replay Oh, we could have blocked there actually and bounced our Golos now I think about it. That would have been a better play. So they're in blue, but they can't Pyroblast because of this. So I don't think we need to attack here. They can just weld the things around anyway. I think what we're doing is taking this out, bouncing this, replaying this off of 1, 2. I think we do it this way. This gets us another Cloudpost or a Glimmer Post. I think we can probably just get Cloudpost here. So the next turn. So basically our opponent wants to have a Blood Moon is the impression I'm getting right now. Oop. Oop. Forgot to activate my Khan. Too busy doing other things. Okay, they're just killing off our Khan anyway. So, all right. So they have land and a Grindstone in hand. You can play out the land, play the Grindstone, weld this into Soulguide Lantern. So you probably need to exile their graveyard and get rid of that Soulguide Lantern pretty soon. Although we just get to blow up all their stuff in the very near future. So this is them trying to get more cards out of us. I just think we take the 4 here. Like this Ugin is going to be pretty good. It's going to hit our own Cloudpost, that's the only issue. So maybe we just cast the Ulamog. Okay. Have to be careful with this one. So this is attached for 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 3, 6, 7, 8. So if I tap with 8 for that, then I can play the Ugin, kill the Painted Servant, and then play a Khan. No, I can't play a Khan off that because I can play a Thought-Knot Seer. So I think we're probably just in Ulamog territory here, right? So 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so I think the way we lose is if our mana gets messed up here. So I think we exile this and this. We don't give them the chance to weld or anything around. And we can bounce and replay this every turn with Caracas. I think we follow up with the Khan here as well. Oh, they're just drawing a card. Okay. Cool. So, welder, you say? The Spyglass is relatively good. There is an issue with boarding in too many lands, about boarding in too many artifacts against them, because if they get to do their welder shenanigans, it's pretty bad for us because they can do it. They can welder our artifacts. Excuse me. Leyline seems like it might be quite good here because our opponent is really going in for the Leyline plan. We probably don't need to go all the way up to Emrakul. The Alder's Dust is so weird in this matchup because our opponent can turn everything to a certain colour, which is crazy bad for us. The Thought-Knot Seers are good here. The Khan is incredible here. The Reality Smasher is alright, but I think we can probably trim some Reality Smashers here because we're expecting Blood Moon out of our opponent as well, which means maybe we need to get rid of more of the top end. Again, Ugin is an interesting one as well. I think we'll submit like this and try it. We get to be on the play for the final game if there is a third game though. That's a lot of Cloudposts. That's a lot of Cloudposts. And we have Khan. Okay, I think we just have to snap keep this one. So no Goblin Welder shenanigans this game. So that shuts down their 2 main cards for their engines. They can as a Sargeras though. Haywire Might. So they can use this to blow our stuff up. Sure. The Cataracts. Right, we're just going to play a Cloudpost into Cloudpost into Cloudpost. So we get turn 3 Khan by doing that. Which is going to be good, one would hope. A Painted Servant. Okay. Can get the one with the Haywire Might. This card is very good, by the way. If you haven't bought any of these, you probably want to. Yeah, I think we just play out the Cloudpost here. Did I do a silly this game? I did do a silly. I brought out my Emrakul. That's the thing that stops us getting milled. I think we'll do a shame concede there. Yeah, we needed the Emrakul, and that was very silly of me. But now they might... yeah, they might let us get away with it a bit. They might try and grindstone us because they don't think we have an Emrakul now. What does this hand do? It's incredibly slow. I don't think I can realistically keep this. This hand isn't great. Trinisphere is okay though. And we do have Thought-Knot Seer, but it's going to be a little bit tricky getting the Thought-Knot Seer online. The Vesuva has to copy our Temple. Put back an Urborg here. We put back a Thought-Knot Seer. Double Thought-Knot Seer is very strong. Maybe we should put back the Monolith. Not a fan of this hand, but I think it's keepable. It is quite slow though. Should be boarding in the... No, we don't care about their grindstone combat, should do. That's what the Emrakul's for. I don't know, I don't feel I've navigated this very well today with this matchup. Okay, so we're just going to cast nothing but Thought-Knot Seers for the rest of this game, that looks it. Which is fine. Mountain, Painted 7, sure. That is a real kick in the teeth. That means these can't make our Thought-Knot Seers. Sure, so they've done this. They've named red so they can pitch to Fury. This should hopefully slow them down because they have a lot of cheap drops in their deck. A Blood Moon, sure. Well, these were basically doing nothing anyway. We don't have the Colourless Pip now. So our hand is pretty invalid right now. Yikes. Our opponent's draw was a pretty good one against us. This is on me. I think I win the second game if I have a Emrakul in my deck. Now we're just sort of going to get beaten down by the bad half of the painted deck, basically. The Glimmer Post. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have no colourless mana. Clock definitely gets accelerated once this flips, especially if they can put something like a Fury into play. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So all this dust will blow up everything if I draw one of those. And I can cast it. So it might be one of those situations where that's the thing that has to happen. Which would be weird. We'll just reset the game. A Fury. Sure. Go on. Shoot your own guys. Be a friend. Okay, we don't have a lot of turns left of this game now. Ancient Tomb. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if we draw the cheap Ugin, the 6 mana Ugin, we can take out the Fury. But we're going to be taking 6, 7, 8, 9 this turn. It's going to put us to 6. And they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 coming in the following turn. So we'll need something good to follow up with. And if they have an additional threat here, then we're just dead. Yikes. Oh, I deserve to lose this one. I shouldn't have boarded out the Emrakul in game 2. Like, this deck should be beating Painter most of the time. Like, Painter, when your opponent has Emrakul and Khan in their deck, just absolutely is miserable to play. Such is life. Yeah, so if our Vesuva was a soul land of any description, then we win this game, I think. The fact that we had to wait a turn on our Vesuva was the problem there. Because we didn't get to play our Thought-Knot Seer, then we could have picked out something from our opponent's hand. We could have just hit their plays on curve. We could have just gone this, this, this. And our opponent would have been able to do anything. Right, so they got their reflection of Kiki-Jiki now. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I don't have enough for Khan and Snaring Bridge. Not that it works against them anyway, because we've got too many cards in hand. And Glimmer Post. Nope, we are just dead. Yeah, we punted that game. I think we should win this game pretty much every day of the week. Alright, so that's a bit upsetting, but I think I'll take that one on me. That's not fair, that's me. We did get unfortunate with the Vesuva hand, but sometimes those are the breaks. Alright, let's go into the next round. Turn 2 Trinisphere into uncounterable Reality Smasher is what we've been offered here. We do have a lot of lands though, and that's something that I really want in this deck, so I'm going to keep this. I'm You can certainly get picked apart by things. Scalding Tarn. This looks like some sort of Delver, perhaps? Volcanic Island. Dragon's Rage Channeler. Sure. Looks like a Delver to me. So we have to be super careful about using our lands here. I think we play out the Cloudpost here. If they have a wasteland, they'd hit our Ancient Tomb anyway. So I think whatever land we play out here is probably going to get wastelanded if they have a wasteland. So we just have to hope they don't have one. So we may as well play the higher upside one. No main phase 1 thing. A Delver. Okay. I'd rather Thought Not Seer or Trinisphere. With our opponent on 1 land, I'm going to opt for Trinisphere. If I can stop my opponent from playing the rest of the game, that would be nice. I just have to deal with what's on board. Yep, they had a daze. Sure. That means if they want to wasteland us next turn, they don't get to deploy anything else to the board. Or any sort of cantrips. And then we can play a Thought Not Seer into Reality Smasher, and they'll both be uncounterable. So that's quite a nice position to be, I think. Our threats will be bigger than theirs. Oh, they missed on the flip as well. There's a Volcanic Island, we knew that. There we go, get us in for a little bit of damage. Lightning Bolt. Okay, so they're trying to scry to make their Dragon's Rage Channeler big enough. They did not succeed. I do like Chalice of the Void here. I think the better play is this, to make sure that we don't get caught unawares by some sort of like Murktide type thing that we can't really race. Let's see what you're working with. Brazen Borrower, Force of Will, Expressive Iteration. Interesting. It's either the Borrower or the Iteration here. Because they can borrow at awkward times, whereas Expressive Iteration is obviously... If they cast it next turn, that's not so good. We're going to take the Borrower, because if they cast it next turn, they only get 1 card off of it. And maybe I can force them to Force of Will it. Okay, so they didn't flip the Delver this turn either. So we can just make a Reality Smasher and do some smashing. A Wasteland. Okay, it'd be interesting to see what they hit. Cloudpost, sure. So we still get to make the Reality Smasher uncounterable here. Another Reality Smasher. That's right, 1, 2, 3. No, we don't get to make the Reality Smash this turn, do we? Interesting. We could cast a Chalice for 2 and stop the Expressive Iteration from the hand. Or we could cast a Chalice for 1 without taking any damage. Hard to say which of those is best. I think whichever one we cast is likely to get a Force of Will. We know all the cards on our opponent's hand. So I think we're just playing out the Ancient Tomb this turn. And we just cast this Chalice for 1. Do you want a load of your deck to do nothing? Or do you value having Expressive Iteration? Okay. So their plan now is to Expressive Iteration into Murktide Regents. Flipping a Delver on the way is helpful for them too. Okay, a Lightning Bolt. That Lightning Bolt doesn't do anything, which is nice. So they're coming for 4 here. And then we come in for 9 on the backswing. Sure, they're just doing this to scry. So we can tick that one off the list. There's a Steam Vents. And it's tapped. I have 2 cards in hand, so they have counter spells at the ready. We'll play this out. 1, 2. So we have to tap this, unfortunately. But I think that's fine. Because this is a lot of damage. And we have another one to follow up with. If our opponent draws Murktide Regent and doesn't leave guys back to block, then they're in trouble. Even if they do, I think they're in trouble because we have 10 trample damage. They'll be able to block 5 of that, and the other one they'll be able to block 4 damage and take the 5. Take 3. So I'll lose everything. But if they're... So they didn't draw a Murktide, so we are odds on to win this game, I would say. So they left one of the cards on top with Dragon's Rage Channeler. Mishra's Bauble. Oh, I found a 0 drop. You can cast that. That will turn this into a 3/3. But it'll have to attack if they sacrifice it, right? Instant Sorcery, land, artifact. Yeah, okay, so they're coming in for 6 this turn, but I have lethal on board. Maybe they're hoping they can just block the 4/4. I guess they don't know about Reality Smasher, but they're about to. Ooh, interesting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sure, you can draw that. We'll play this indestructible land. Play Scout. 1, 2. Colourless. Smash your realities. Okay, cool. So sideboarding, same as last time, right? On these ley lines, we want to get rid of some of our top end. We probably want some. Do we want these snare and bridges main? Probably. So what did we get rid of last time? We got rid of some of these Khans because they're pretty bad. And do we want Sorcerer's Spyglass for Wasteland? I think we probably do here. Which means the Khan package is just going entirely, I think. It's just so unimpactful. Although we have 2 and 2, so we probably do want a Khan still. We get rid of one of those. Just so we have maximum chance of hitting them. Or any of this top end should be enough. Maybe am I supposed to board out Smasher here? I don't think I am. Right, submit. We have 3 lands. We have a Spyglass. We have a Ley Line. I think we have to keep this one. The Blast Zone is pretty decent here. Can use it to blow up all their 1-drops, obviously. So we can lead out on Cataract so we can't get Wastelanded off of it, which is nice. Yep, so we lead out on this one. And next turn we can play something and then Sorcerer's Spyglass away Wastelands. Although if their hand has loads of fetch lands, we might be able to just get them. Okay, so they're making sure they flip the Delver with a Brainstorm. Lightning Bolt. So they've identified that the way they have to win this game pretty much is through an Insectile Aberration. So that's why they're super pressing the go button by brainstorming in their upkeep. A bauble. Sure. And cracking the bauble. Our opponent did not make a land drop here. A Glimmer Post. I get the Glimmer Post online. Let's see. So they're not going to have any fetch lands to hit here. But we would like to wasteland to stop our opponent wastelanding us. I don't think this is good enough for a counter spell, especially since they didn't have a wasteland, so they might have played it that turn. It was good enough for a daze. Interesting. Okay. If they had a wasteland, they were sandbagging it, but they know I have to play into it because of the nature of my deck. So interesting. Okay, Volcanic Island. Maybe they were just really worried about me naming like Scalding Tarn or something weird. So this takes 3 to pop, so we want to. That's not a bad one. So we can Thought Not Seer here, or we can just shut them out of the game with Trinisphere. Now, Trinisphere is bad if our opponent has a wasteland. I think we should Thought Not Seer here. So if we Trinisphere, they wasteland like our Temple, and we basically don't get to Blast Zone, we don't get to do anything. Sure. Alright. So next turn we can uncounterably kill both of these, which I will do, because this is the best threat in their deck right now. And if we get rid of that, we can kind of take our time, play some Trinispheres and do that sort of jazz. We have 4 mana towards a Reality Smasher already, and we have a Grim Monolith. A Lightning Bolt. So that could be the same Lightning Bolt as before. Because the Brainstorm, it probably is. I'm going to assume it is. But if it isn't, they hit us for 6, that's pretty bad. Okay, a Wasteland. This is not great for us. Sure. So the Trinisphere would have been super bad there. So we have to make a really ugly play here. We have to play a Grim Monolith and then use it to blow up our Blast Zone. It's ugly, but it's what we have to do. We need to draw lands. We did not draw a land. Okay. Now, we do have time here. Our opponent doesn't have a threat, and there's basically just 2 Delvers left in their deck that are threats. I guess I have a Brazen Borrower as well. But that's about it. So hopefully we can draw some lands. I'm not even looking to play a Trinisphere or anything right now. Ugin the Spirit Dragon. That is not a land. Yikes. Reality Smash. That is also not a land. We have less lands in the Delver deck, which is not really where the giant big mana deck wants to be. Oh, another wasteland. Jeez. It's getting absolutely bodied. At least they've only got one more wasteland left in their deck. A Cloudpost. That's a start. So a Glimmer Post would be nice. Give some more mana, or another Cloudpost would be excellent. Come on, deck. Thought Not Seer. That's not going to do it. Officially descended into the fast portion of this game. Ancient Tomb is a good one here. I have to imagine our opponent has... So we know they have lightning bolts. So if we Thought Not Seer here, they can just fire 2 lightning bolts at us and put us to 1 and switch off our Ancient Tomb. I think what we should actually do is untap our Grim Monolith. And then we can use that for a Golos, which might end up just getting us an Urborg so we can tap our Ancient Tomb. Which sounds pretty bad. But we'll see what we draw. Expressive Iteration. That's a pretty good one from our opponent. So they're basically just trying to draw 3 lightning bolts, I think. A wasteland. Okay, we'll untap this. Okay. So we're probably just getting Glimmer Post. Or Cloudpost. It depends how brave we feel and what we draw. And Snaring Bridge. Okay. How likely is our Golos to resolve? I can't imagine it's very likely at this point in the game. But I think we have to do it a daze. Sure. We could have played Thought Not Seer around a daze. But we only get 1 activation with our Grim Monolith, and we need it to find us more mana sources. Otherwise we just can't do anything this game. Since Snaring Bridge not looking great right now. A Brainstorm, sure. Our opponent's nearly through half their deck, so it means they're getting towards the other 2 Delvers in their deck. As well as more lightning bolts. Put it to Delta. They found a threat. If this hits us once, it makes us dead to 2 lightning bolts. Mishra's Bauble, sure. Just get some Scry action on, or Surveil action. Murktide Regent is gone. Good. Get out of here, you. A land, please. It's kind of like a land, isn't it? So now we can play a Thought Not Seer next turn, which can roadblock the Channeler. But if we take the 1 and we're dead to 2 lightning bolts, then that may just be the end of this game. We have to go to game 3. There's one of them. Yep. Sure. I appreciate you showing me them both there. Alright, that was a bit of a disaster. So... was I alright with my sideboarding here? I think this is fine, especially on the play it's going to be stronger. I think we should just go like this. This is a turn 2 Chalice into not a lot else. I think we have to mulligan. We have to mulligan this one as well. This is a better one. I think we can keep this. And we put 2 cards on the bottom. Do like having mana sources here. One has to go. So what do we... kind of want all of our business spells here, right? But that means getting rid of 2 Glimmer Posts, which feels real dangerous. But we kind of need to keep this guy. Which means we're probably getting rid of this. I think gives us the highest upside. Right. Let's chance for 1. Do you have a Force of Will in your hand? They do have a Force of Will. They pitched a Murktide Regent. Okay. So we get to cast a Thought Not Seer next turn. But we might want to wait another turn just to play around days. Depending on if our opponent plays a threat, depends on how much time we have. Okay, they played the best threat in their deck. Sure. And it might be a 3-3 by next turn. Yeah. A daze is gone. Okay. Our turn. What do we got? Sorcerer's Spyglass. I don't hate this. We can play this around days. It does hurt us a little bit. We can play around days. And they do have a daze. Okay, so we're going to name Wasteland here. We could name the Scalding Tarn and just try and get them. Is that really what we want to do? Is it better to name Scalding Tarn and get them? Or is it better to... I think we do need to just get the Wasteland here. This is basically spending 2 mana to Wasteland our opponent, which is no good in the Delver matchup. We're better off stopping them from ever tinkering with our mana base, because we need to hit some of our like pretty expensive spells. A Ponder, sure. Okay, so if they put a land in, which they can do with their Scalding Tarn, they're going to be able to attack us with a 3/3 this turn. So we're going to be needing something else. And we're going to be taking damage from the Ancient Tomb as we go. Some Cloud Posts and Glimmer Posts can help us out a little bit. And there's a Scalding Tarn. They did not shuffle with a Ponder, so there was one good card on there, and now they're shuffling away the others. Now we're getting bashed for 3. We could draw the one-off Bojuka Bog in our deck. That would be fine. Okay, they're left on top with Dragon's Rage Channeler, which isn't great for us either. So he might just be getting delved out this game. 2, bibbidi bop. Our turn. Grim Monolith. I think we just play this out. Seems unlikely we're going to be able to race our opponent. But at least we can stop something like a Murktide that they may have in hand. Force of Will, Pitching Days. Sure. I've just seen so many extra cards with this Dragon's Rage Channeler. See, the problem with Delver at the moment is it has 3 cards, all of which would be pretty fair to be banned. And it's kind of playing all of them. So it's a bit awkward for us. A Caracas. Sure. We'll play this out, set up for an All Is Dust. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we can All Is Dust and then be dead to Bolt. Sure, the aggressive trying to flip the Delver because they know that I have cards in my deck that just change the game, and if they can get us low enough so that I can't use my Ancient Tomb to cast them, that seems pretty solid. This puts us to Lightning Bolt dead. Do you have a Lightning Bolt? I did not. All Is Dust. We have a Cloud Post and we are dead. Sure, we got Delvered. Like, I don't think I can mulligan any lower there. Like, we went to 5. And they, you know, they had 2 Force of Wills in that game. Had a turn 1 threat. Like, I can't feel bad for losing to that. But, yeah. Hopefully, Wizards will do something about the Delver deck soon. Alright, on to, I think, the last round. So, this is a turn 2 Thought Not Seer. That seems good. I think Ivogan is one we care about getting wastelanded least. So, we're just going to play this out and say go. Because the other one's tap for mana for our other spells. There's the Wasteland. There goes our land. Yep. Seeing a pattern with this deck. A Cloud Post. Sure. Now we could have played out a temple in case we draw a second temple. Then we can cast a Thought Not Seer next turn. But I think getting the Cloud Post online when our opponent isn't committing anything to the board just yet is the most sensible play. Just to draw it up. Okay. That's not too scary. So our opponent could be like L, like the sort of Nick Fitty type stuff. It could be like a deck that only has a 1-of Wasteland. It's like Reclaimery type deck. Or it could be the dedicated Wasteland Reclaimer decks. There's a lot of choices there. We're just going to do nothing because all of our spells cost a lot of mana. And if our opponent Wastelands us, we're in trouble. But I think they would have Wastelanded the Cloud Post if they had one there. Llanowar Elves. Gaia's Cradle. Fiend Artisan. Sure. So this turn we want to be Thought Knotting them to make sure that we don't get natural ordered. I find these Fiend Artisan decks, if they don't have the natural order, aren't that threatening. Do we care about any of these cards particularly? Not really. I guess they can go and fetch a Wasteland, which I'm not really into. Rotation. I don't want to play Bojuka Bog and then get a Wasteland. They're probably just going to draw a natural order off the top and get us anyway. But let's pop out their hand so we know what's going on. Reclaimer that we knew about. Yep. I'll buy you. Fiend Artisan. It's going to be the Endurance. Or are they sacrificing something with the Fiend Artisan? So next turn they can... How much mana they got? Let's see what they get here first. Okay. That doesn't really impact us right now. So they got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 mana. So with an additional mana they can sack any creature, probably the Dryad Alvix will be tapped, and get a Craterhoof Behemoth. So not great. We Can have some Karn lines here, but we need more mana for them to work. Let's see what we draw. A Blast Zone. This takes out 2 of their permanents and massively stifles some of the other stuff they've got going on. We know they've got Endurance in hand. Definitely playing out the Blast Zone. If we pop this on 1, we do get to kill these 2. This could becomes a 4/4. Are we attacking here? If we start getting damage in, we can then start racing with the reality smashers in our hand. So let's see if they block here. I doubt they will. They might do because they can see the Blast Zone. They might as well save themselves a bit of damage. We just blow this now. Does pump their guy, but gives them less resources. Turns down their cradle a big amount. So, Allosaurus Shepherd, a Bajukabok. Yep, and they have an Endurance in hand that they can flash in because they've got cradle. So probably just going to bash for 7 this turn. No, they got something they want to find. Let's see what they got. A Dryad Arbor. Okay. I'm just getting him to 3 here. Let's see what we draw. A Reality Smasher. I guess we do the one thing our hand very clearly does. Our hand does one thing, so we should probably just keep doing that thing. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4 mana off of this. 5, 6, 7, 8. So a land gives them Crater Hoof next turn, which will be lethal. So we need to just get the beats in. So they can play an Endurance here. Play Endurance, ambush this and kill it. And draw a card, which makes them more likely to hit a land, so I think. Oh no, if they flash the Endurance in, they get the additional mana off of the Cradle, right? So we're just dead on board, right? I think our opponent should be able to see that line. Yeah. Get your guy. Get the Crater Hoof. And we're dead. Sure. Alright. Ensnaring Bridge. It's going to be alright here. Move these here so I can see what I'm doing a bit better. Snare Bridge is going to be good here. The Sorcerer's Spyglass is going to be good here. Karn, probably not so good. Spin off 3 of them. Leave 1 back as a flexi one. The All is Dust is definitely where we want to be here. We could always just board in these and board out some Reality Smashers. Just try and go big with the large ones. Crucible main deck's probably better than another Reality Smasher as well. Don't think we need Tormod's Crypt or Leyline. Like Fiend Artisan is fine. Do we want a single card instead of a Reality Smasher? That sounds better. If we've got a Karn, we probably do want some Karn packages there, maybe. So maybe we do want 3 Karns. Because our opponent, if they don't do their thing immediately, they're not very threatening for the most part. And we don't really have a lot of removal, so we're basically just trying to ramp into All is Dust for the most part. But this hand cast turn 2 Ensnaring Bridge or Trinisphere. I think we keep this. Also has 3 lands in it. Certainly seen a lot of hands that haven't had a lot of lands in lately. So we have to play our Cloudpost out, which can get hit by a Wasteland. But this is the deck we're playing. And I suspect this version definitely feels worse than the mono green version that had the Green Sun Zenith, as well as the ability to like have some basic lands, so you weren't just getting absolutely ruined by everything. Let's see what we draw. Chalice of the Void. Okay, I'm certainly into playing Chalice. Is just playing Chalice better than playing Trinisphere is the question. That's a hard one to answer. I think the Trinisphere is probably better, but think we might be in trouble if something goes wrong. I think the conservative line is to play this, because we don't want to be in a situation where we can't empty our hand with Trinisphere, with Ensnaring Bridge. And they get to cast something on their turn anyway, most likely. Okay, so they had the thing that makes my chalice look pathetic. Cool. Yep, just cast these things into the chalice. So Trinisphere would have been way better there. They might have a land, yep, so they would have been able to cast one of these things. But now they get to cast all sorts of things. Sure. Yep. I tried playing a Fiend Artisan deck a while ago, and I just didn't understand how it was ever supposed to beat control decks. Or decks with like removal spells in. So we can... I think we just cast this. It feels the safest way. Oh, Visionary. Sure. So our opponent's deck is going to have Force of Vigor in it, so it's going to be a bit annoying when they can just remove our bridges. We just need to draw more mana, which is something I find myself saying all the time with this deck at the moment. Maybe it does need more mana sources. I think it's got 31 mana sources, including Grim Monoliths. But when we're trying to hit some pretty big cards, especially like sometimes, you know, your funny lands are only tapping for one. Right, what we got here? Oh, Visionary. Okay, so just recycling Visionaries. Collector Reef. That doesn't do anything, right? I can see why they brought it in. We certainly look like a sort of deck where that would do things, but I don't think that does anything. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we still need 3 more mana before we can hope to cast Nula's Dust, which I think just wins the game if we get to cast this. Now they can get in. So the problem with Allosaurus Shepherd is they can attack with the load of their elves and then activate this after the attack downside is. So we're probably dead in the very near future. Sorcerer's Spyglass. Okay, so that will shut off the Allosaurus Shepherd. Probably buys us a turn, but we didn't hit a land that turn, so Allosaurus Shepherd. And because we didn't hit a land, we can't do anything else. Not even Wasteland us here, it's just not drawing lands at all in this deck. So they can spin up something that might be able to blow up our Sorcerer's Spyglass. Something like a Outland Liberator type thing is usually what these decks have. They can have any sort of disruption. Yep, just keep countering, just keep putting them into this. Nothing I can do about it. Okay, so I'm going to get something. Another Wildwood Symbiote. Okay, so just going to keep drawing cards off of their Elvish Visionary. Surprised they don't have something better to go and find with the Fiend Artisan. Maybe their Artifact Disruption is all Force of Vigor. Is it Black Source? The Grist. Sure. Destroy target creature or Planeswalker. Sure. So this gives them loads of food for the Fiend Artisan. Like if we were doing anything in this game, I think we can win it, really. But it's just sort of got a few little tiny pieces that aren't really doing very much. Oh, not going with the Dryad Arbor. So keeping the Dryad Arbor back for crop rotation purposes. I'm probably just going to die to like these like really medium men. A cabin. Guess we name Eldrazi. So they're probably going to fire off their crop rotation in response. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if we draw an Ancient Tomb that doesn't kill us, or a Glimmer Post actually. So this is getting countered because of the Chalice, but it's not getting countered because it's a green spell. Allosaurus Shepherd. It's not just creatures, it's all green spells. Fun times. Not a massive fan of that design. I think it should just be creatures. Oh, Wasteland. Okay, I think that's now lights out for us. Yep, we can't take anything here. So they can blow this up and then they come in for 4, 8, and they also have the 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Yeah, we're just dead here. But pretty bad. Let's have a look at the deck. Honestly, this deck felt... I know, like, being results focused isn't always the best, but honestly, this deck didn't feel very good to me. I don't, like... If we look at what we're doing curve-wise, sometimes these don't do anything. Like in that last matchup, we had this, it didn't do anything. And if you don't have these things doing anything, then you're just sort of playing land drops until you hit 4 mana. And even then, what you play isn't actually that impactful on the board if it's a turn 4 because you haven't got your things, haven't got like your double mana pips and stuff. Or alternatively, if you get wastelanded off, you're just really far behind then. And like Golos is certainly not a Primeval Titan. So many of these games we just got stuck on mana, whereas like with the green deck, you've got early plays with Reclaimer, which fixes your mana. You have Green Sun Zenith, which gets you a Dryad Arbor, or can just get you some other little one-offs. So you don't actually have to have that many things in your deck because the Green Sun Zenith kind of fills in your curve for you. Whereas this, like, yeah, we did manage to go over the top one time, but that was about it. I definitely misplayed against the Painter player with my sideboarding by boarding out the Emrakul. That was definitely a mistake, and that's on me. So this probably should have been a 2-3. But even so, that's not a very good record. And I'm just not convinced that playing no basic lands and basically nothing, no way of impacting the board before turn 4 necessarily is good. Like even if you're on the, if you're on the draw and you have Chalice for 1 on turn 1, if your opponent's got a Dragon's Rage Channeler, they're likely to beat you that game because they can wasteland you off to stop you hitting 4 drops. And the Dragon's Rage Channeler is just going to do enough, really. And they can put cards into the Chalice to pump up their Channeler and dig themselves into Expressive Iteration or Murktide. And like Murktide is going to be bigger than Reality Smasher. Like the Reality Smasher felt kind of pointless in this deck. It felt like if we just had some more like early game stuff, like I don't know, even Mind Stone or something like that, just something to get us up the curve a little bit. We were desperately in need of being able to sort of cheat on the curve, and one well-placed wasteland just blows out the water, really. So I'm not convinced about it. And like this, like we had all this dust in our hand for the last game, and if we ever get to cast it, we just win that game. But most of our lands tap for 1 a lot of the time. The Eldrazi Temple and the Cloudposts and the Ancient Tombs can all go towards this, but it just didn't feel like that was happening. So much of the deck doesn't do that. And then there was that game that we lost because Vesuva came in tapped against Painter, which is unfortunate. But we've got non-basic lands coming in tapped with no early interaction against a format that is very fast at the moment. So I just don't think this is the version of Cloudpost that people should be playing. I can certainly see how in certain matchups you're gonna get there. Like decks without Wasteland is a start, and if they're slower decks, then you're just going to go over the top of them. But at the moment, so much of the format just goes so far under what you're doing. It's just not worth trying to get to these big hits. It's a bit of a sorry state of affairs, and I was kind of excited about this one because I really enjoyed playing the green Cloudpost deck. I thought that deck was very good, actually. Again, that had endurances as well, so I had even more interaction in the early stages of the game. But this just didn't work for me, I don't think. Now, there's definitely going to be some user error there. Don't get me wrong. It's the first time I played Colourless Cloudpost like this. But I don't see why you would play this over the green build. Like, even if you're under a Blood Moon, you're just playing colourless cards, and then also you can't cast these 8 cards for a start. And if you're playing the green build, like I managed to smash someone through a Blood Moon quite easily with it, because you've got the basics in your land, so you have access to your green things, and then once you've got, and like your Elvish Reclaimer can go and find you those basic lands and get you around, make sure you have your double green pips, and just casting a Primeval Titan is better than the creatures in most people's decks anyway. And I managed to Primeval Titan my way up to an Ulamog when I was playing that Cloudpost deck. So I really enjoyed that, whereas this one just feels kind of clunky. And like Karn is good in some matchups, but he's really bad in other matchups. He's kind of a 4-mana do-nothing. So again, like I was saying, where you have the not really playing to the board very much. You can prison people out, but little days here or whatever, and you're not really committing to the board. And then when you do get to 4 mana, you play this, and your opponent's going to have stuff on board, so this doesn't really do anything. So it just seems like you're playing... The deck kind of sets itself up to play from behind, which I don't think is how a big mana deck should be. It should try and play ahead of everyone. Like, yeah, sure, if you get to just play your lands unmolested, great. But that doesn't really happen very often in Legacy right now. You know, like, if you look at the best decks, you've got Delver. You've got the mono-red sort of stompy deck, which is going to mess with your lands with Blood Moons. Then you've got the green-white Depths deck, which is full of wastelands. Then even the control decks, like the 4-color Uro control decks, usually have some amount of wastelands and Life from the Loam in them. I just don't know how you're reliably supposed to beat a lot of things. You know, you've got goblins, and you've got Death and Taxes. There's just so many things in the format that feel hostile to this. And you don't have any wiggle room, unlike the green deck, which, you know, it can play forests, which is nice. And, you know, it can play up the curve. It has Ramanap Excavator in the main. Like, we've got Khan to go and find it. But that's a 4-drop to find a 3-drop. Whereas we can just go 4 mana, get Ramanap, immediately play it with the Green Sun Zenith. So, yeah, even though this is a deck that has this particular list 5-0'd a league, I think, or it might have been the one that did well in the Legacy prelims, I can't remember. It's going to be a no from me on this one, I'm afraid. It just feels like if you're expecting a field of sort of slower, grindier decks, then sure, this is going to be good. But even then, you might run into the control decks with Life from the Loam Wasteland locks, and you're going to be in a bit of trouble there. Whereas it seems like these cards might be able to beat combo decks, but we're not a City of Traitors deck. We're not a Blood Moon deck. So, sorry, not Blood Moon. We're not a Chrome Mox deck. We're not a City of Traitors deck. We're not a Mox Diamond deck. So the only way we can cast Chalice for 1 on turn 1 is with Ancient Tomb. So that's not really a reliable way of getting this play. The only way we can cast Trinisphere on turn 1 is Ancient Tomb, Grim Monolith, Trinisphere, which is a bit Magical Christmas Land, to be honest. And even casting Trinisphere on turn 2 is doable because you have Cloudpost and Glimmerpost, so you've got more ways of doing it. But if you're on, like, say, the draw, a turn 2 Trinisphere is fine, but sometimes is not going to be enough anyway. So I just think that the pieces of this deck feel a little bit clunky. Also, didn't help that that one of our opponents was playing new cards, which is a bit rude. Whereas the website that I rent my cards from didn't have any of the new cards available yet. But I've got some really cool stuff coming up once the cards go up. So hopefully tomorrow or the day after we can play some pretty fun decks. All right, that's it from me. Just let me say one more time, if you can subscribe to my channel, that really helps me out. It doesn't cost you anything, and it's the best way of supporting my channel. I'd like to hit 1,000 subscribers by New Year's. That's my goal. It's quite a high goal, so I'm going to need your help to do it. All right. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.